Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another segment of That's What She Said. As we do every week, we spill the tea on women empowerment. And isn't that fun? Like, that's just pretty cool. Like, I've been getting some really interesting feedback through social media, in person, at the farmer's market, when someone said, your voice sounds familiar. And I was like, uh-oh, what was that, But thank you. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of That's What She Said as we spill the tea on women empowerment. And I was recently, like I said, I was at the farmer's market, but I was recently out in the community the past couple days. And it is a beautiful thing to encounter happy people. It is a beautiful thing to encounter happy people. And once you're in that atmosphere of, socializing and having these just breeze by encounters, or maybe a deep conversation with someone, you walk away and you're like, oh, I feel really good. So that was my past couple days. And hopefully you've had a very well past couple days too. But if you didn't, just go out into the community and you'll encounter some really awesome people. Just like this really awesome woman who throws herself out into the community in a big way. And personally, like I said on Facebook yesterday, I think she has a superpower. And we're going to uncover her story and dive right into some conversations that are beneficial for all women in the Great Lakes Bay region to just know and learn. And so today, without further ado, we have Dani DiAmico with us. Thank you for being here, Dani.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So we've met briefly before in a hallway passing.
Yes, but in that 5 minutes, it jumped to deep conversation really quick.
That's right. Yes.
It wasn't light and sure, all of a sudden to the point and just doing great things in 5 minutes.
Doing great things in 5 minutes. Okay. So that sounds like a superpower in itself, right? So Dani, like I said, we met in a hallway. We were just passing each other by. And someone introduced us and we're just like, oh, hey. And I was like, well, what do you do? And this is what I do. And this is fun. And you're great. And, we connected very, very quickly, very easily. And, I've always said that thing where good people attract good people. So it's a compliment to have you in the room today. I appreciate you being here. So Dani, can you tell us a little bit about what you do in the community for work?
I am the children's librarian at the Sage Branch Library in Bay City. So we have the Bay County Library System, and the Sage Branch is the historical branch, which is a beautiful building if you haven't been in. And the first floor is the children's department, and it's pretty incredible. It's such a welcoming space, and because I'm the department head, I get to lead that fostering of welcome and acceptance, and understanding that this is a place that your kid is coming into, and it's okay, they're kids. Okay. Yes, it's a library, but it's okay, they're kids.
They're kids. Well, right off the bat, you said the entire first floor is the kids section.
Yes.
So, wow, that's a big space for an entire space.
Yeah.
Just to hone in on children's books, children's education, literacy when it comes to little people. So you're telling me that there's the roam around green flag for them.
Yes, we even do an I Spy. So there's pictures hidden throughout the first floor for the kids to be empowered, to explore the space, and it's their space. And so my other part, so I curate the book collection, but the library is so much more than books, which I'm sure we'll get to eventually. And I also do the children's programming. So we do 3 story times a week for different age groups under 5 years old. We do crafts. We do a tween hangout, so 8 to 12-year-olds, so programs that welcome kids into the building too, and give them a little bit more of a reason to come in other than just books.
How does the community take a library with an entire floor dedicated to children and this many activities? How does the community receive that?
Gratitude. I feel so embraced and loved by the community, and they just appreciate what we do, and the joy of it. It's a space where you can come for free. You can fill the space with your kids, get out of your house, experience new things, leave, and I clean up the mess.
That's a big deal,
right?
That's a big deal.
Like, take that stress away from leaving the house with a gaggle of children, and going to a safe space where they're welcome and encouraged to be
For free.
For free. Well, you do pay for it with your tax dollars, right? So I like to remind people that, you don't have to pay when you come in the library and do all the things, but you did vote yes, and we do appreciate that very much, because it empowers us to do all of the things that we do for the community.
That's a good point. So the library, most people drive by it, or if there's something happening, they'll, peep it out, maybe online and pop in if they're available. But the library itself is for the community. It is the community's. In preparation to this conversation, I went to my local library in Saginaw. And I walked in and I'm thinking, like, okay, there's the kids section, there's the adult section, there's the quiet section, like the study section. And I'm wandering around, and all the librarians were so happy. It was nice. They were smiling, and, the gentle little smile, opening their books, and they're reading themselves, or they're organizing papers or organizing books. And it felt comfortable. Yes. And I thought, I feel comfortable here. I haven't, I'm honest. Okay, here we go. I haven't been in the library for a couple months. And it was something that I took my kids to. There was a culture event that was happening, and it was very engaging. But that was the last time. But I went by myself this time to see if I could encounter something different. And even in the adults portion of the library, there was still, educational opportunities that I thought, I feel very welcomed, and there's an opportunity to learn. So are there any specific opportunities that you oversee that are, hey, this is my favorite learning opportunity for youth?
Oh,
you could give us a couple examples. You can give us a couple examples. That's okay.
I feel that a unique hole that the library fills, and specifically children's librarians, is that 0 to 3 age group. As a parent out trying to find community and find stimulation, like when you have an infant at home, like I remember the anxiety of, like, what if she poops all over?
Yep.
Like, what if she starts crying and I'm out at a restaurant and I don't want to disturb people? And the 0 to 3 age group doesn't really have play groups yet, because it's all parallel play. And so that story time, and we do a baby book club for that age group. And it's before preschool too, so preschool doesn't really start until 3, but the studies on brain growth in babies and how important those first 3 years are, especially reading to them, it literally grows their brain cells. Like, so if you're reading and talking to your baby, it will make your baby smarter. Data shows it, right?
So take from that, talk to your baby.
It's 100%. And that's a whole nother show. But really the story time from 0 to 3, and just supporting those parents through that time in their life, and giving them a comforting, safe space to bring their kids and get out of the house is a unique niche that the library fills.
That is unique, because I'm thinking of a library, books, programs. A 3-year-old does not read. They do not need a program. So what is that niche? Like, what does that look like for the parents? Like, specific, if there's something happening at your library.
At 3, reading is imaginative play and singing. Okay. So the rhymes that you do with them, that they repeat, and the songs that they learn from what you're singing, they're expanding vocabulary. and they're learning cadence. So when it comes time to them, when they do get to that school point, right? So I didn't encourage my daughter to learn how to read until she was in school. It's all that early literacy of listening to books and singing is so important, because they will have the vocabulary when they start trying to sound words out.
Okay.
So, and my favorite example that was given to me is Goodnight Moon.
Yes.
Right. Everybody's read the book, right?
Yes.
It's not,
it's
a few pages. They use the word slumber in Goodnight Moon.
Okay.
Do you in conversation use the word slumber with your child?
No, I will.
No, we don't. Like, why but
You're right.
It is a word that is going to be in books that they will encounter.
Okay.
And so books give us and our children that added vocabulary that just doesn't happen in life.
You're right.
And the other thing is, like talking to your child, which we did reference, is so good for their brains. My daughter was the most precious blob I ever encountered, and I loved her, and she was the most important thing at that stage. But she was a blob. She didn't know how to talk or intervene. Yeah, exactly. And so learning to talk, especially if you are a quiet person, which isn't, there's nothing wrong with being a quiet person, but learning to talk to somebody who doesn't talk back to you is a learned skill. And it's something that we model at the story times by doing rhymes, by discussing what's on a book page that's beyond just the written words, by play. So our baby story times, we pull out a bunch of toys at the end and the kids just get to play and roam around and the grown-ups get to talk.
So it's a safe space to learn, expand as a parent, as a youth, to just expand your knowledge, but also your social skills.
To socialize.
Yeah. Quietly.
I get lots of crying babies, and it's okay. It's all right. Like if your baby cries in the library. But yeah, safe space for that.
I had an encounter a while ago. My two are older now, and my baby was crying. And I instantly was like, okay, where do I go? I got to get up, and this anxiety came about me. 100%. And then a woman, 2 or 3 tables over, I would say she was mid-40s, and she came and she's like, honey, do not apologize for a crying baby. It is okay. And I remember just sitting back with my crying baby, and I'm like, is it okay? Like, the stranger came up to tell me it's okay. So, is this okay? And then I looked around and I was like, if I calm down, my baby calms down. And, it was, again, having someone tell me that. And so the library is here as a tool, essentially, for parents, youth, and you're saying mothers take their kids, fathers,
parents, grown-ups, grandparents, all of the grown-ups who love their kids.
Yeah.
Or just need a break from their kids.
Or need a break.
Which I'm not going to babysit your kids when you come to the library, but maybe we can give them something else to do to break up their routine a little bit.
So can you tell us a little bit about the journey you took to become who you are and your career role today?
Yeah, and because it's quite convoluted.
Okay.
So my undergraduate degree is in visual art, which, I'm a sculpture major, and in the studio, we often had picture books. So picture books are art. They're amazing works. And I wrote a thesis about Jim Henson. You know what I mean? So it's sculpture. It's these things that are so tied into the visual element of being a child. But, it was grown-up artwork, I promise. And so I graduated, and my husband and I ended up in Bay City. And I put myself through school doing home care.
Okay.
And that was working with people with special needs. And I ended up in a position where I just got burned out, just so burned out. And I walked away from that position, gave him a month's notice. And the day after I put my notice in, I got a call, or I had book club. So I had joined an adult book club at the library. And I went to book club the day after I put my month's notice in. And I said, wow, I would just love to work at the library. We were at the library every week when I was a kid, but I am a horrible speller. So I thought I could not be a librarian because I can't spell. And this is true.
There's a lot of words in a library.
It's true. And Google has come a long way to support
save us all, right?
People who can't spell well. And so so a month goes by, and it's my last week at that other job, and I'd had other medical offer jobs, and it was just the same thing, And so that week I got a call from the person who leads my book club and said, I've got this entry-level position, 15 hours a week, helping people with computers. Are you interested? And I was like, that sounds great. Like I said, so burned out. And in my work background, I'd worked at Interlochen for 4 summers. I'd worked at high school for 2 years, and so I'd had a lot of experience with kids, and so within 6 months, just different people moving throughout the system. I was working full time in the children's department, and I like to say it's the dream job I never knew I was looking for. I'm musical too, so a joke I have is that my brothers got golf lessons and I got voice lessons, which is a true story.
Okay.
I was really musical all through school, and I play the ukulele just because it's really hard to be grumpy and play the ukulele. I don't know if you've ever tried it.
Yes. I've never been sad listening to the ukulele.
There we go, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really easy instrument to back yourself up if you're a vocalist. And so I play that. I actually took it to the interview for my full-time position, and they were thrilled. They still bring it up, So like I said, early literacy is so musical. I play my ukulele and I sing to the kids, and
there's so much happening right now. There's so I just absorbed so much from you. Okay, so let's backtrack slightly.
Well,
and
okay.
So you studied visual arts.
Visual art, yep.
In your current job, what is the direct correlation that you see with your visual arts background in your current job? What is an example that you have had a connectivity there? Because I know there's a lot of women who are listening. It's like, well, I didn't study that, but this sounds like a fun job.
Yeah. And it's so the obvious is picture books, and looking at the illustrations in a picture book and making the connection. But the other thing is really programming. So creating the programs for the children to do, and it is a skill set that I have from art school. I can look at a craft or a project and break down what it requires to make that.
Okay.
And then teach the children those skills to do the thing. So
I
if
can
you're,
see that. Yeah.
so we do groups of 25 kids, so having the verbal skills to explain to them how to make a friendship bracelet, it's not an easy thing. And it's a skill set that I have from art school.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And another really good one was bulletin boards. So my first summer, decorating the children's department, it was sports themed. And I did a bulletin board where I wanted to make a goal, like a soccer goal. Okay. And I was like, okay, we're going to make this out of pool noodles and a fishnet. And so my colleague who's taller than I was pitting it all up. And I'm like, okay, to the left. No, that doesn't. Okay, we'll just figure it out. And afterwards, my supervisor looked at me and she's like, you're not afraid to fail. And that's something that you really take from art school, because you could work on a piece of art. This is a true story for, 2 weeks straight, staying up till 2:00 in the morning every night, and it can still be crap.
Correct.
And, and the hard work, you just got to keep plugging at it. And if the pool noodle falls down, you just pick it up and figure out how it'll work out in the next sense of the word. And so I'd say applying to my job, I'm not afraid to fail, because we just pivot and do something else, and when you've got 25 kids in a room staring at you, that's a great skill to have. Looking at the picture books and understanding what is quality illustration, and then being able to design programs for children and explain to them how they work.
Being comfortable failing.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that.
It's deep. It's a big one, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and not something I recognized in myself until she said something.
Wow.
Mhm,
Okay. So an outside entity had to tell you,
mhm.
hey, you're pretty good at this thing.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
Surprised and empowered.
Really?
Because once you know you've got the thing,
You got
it's
it.
easier to do.
You're like, I got this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if I fail, okay, she told you you're good at that.
So you're good at failing.
Yeah.
But that's
It
okay.
is 100% okay.
Well, I mean, as a woman going through college and as a woman, going through a marriage or
Mhm,
relationship, there's plenty of opportunity for us to fail.
mhm.
So what is something that when you had an opportunity, you seized it, but you failed at it? What helped you kind of pull yourself up from that?
Oh,
And you could talk, I mean, art school is a
yeah,
great example. I don't know if you
yeah.
know this, but I too went to art school. Yeah.
And look where we are.
I know, right?
Happy?
Totally happy.
Happy you're not doing the things we thought, but
But so happy.
yeah, blissful. So the question was pulling yourself up after you
After
fail,
you
like, what do
failed,
you do?
what was something that you've done?
Um, I so we uh well, I launched a pilot program in Bay County that was not a good fit, and we did everything possible to make it work. And I was truly supported in so many different ways by the people around me, and I think that's what it always comes back to, is number one, like listening and really listening to the people who you trust to give you feedback on the situation, and then pivoting and growing from it. Like, that was the other thing. Like, if you fail, like, pivot, what am I going to take out of this to grow the next thing? And so that pilot program that didn't work, we have created so many different programs based on it that work better for our community. And actually, I applied to speak at a conference in the ALSC, so Association for Library Services for Children, about our process and making the choice not to move forward with it. And so we designed a whole program about making that choice and a worksheet. And my colleague and I are going to Denver to speak about it at a national conference. So
This is coming up
in September.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that.
Right, but that's the thing, is you just like take it and grow, because like.
So you're literally going to Denver to have a conversation about something that you failed on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
That means you did a good job failing. Which is very unique. That is very unique. A good job at failing.
But there's always things when you fail, there's always a nugget that you're gonna take and build on.
Okay.
Always, like you said, in a relationship or an argument. Gosh, I don't know if you rerun arguments over and over and over again in your head, right? I fixate on that kind of stuff, or just like how I handle a stressful situation, like, and it might not have been the best way ultimately, but I can take that moment and in those reflections, like, figure out where I want to be and who I want to be next time.
And well, it's that constant process of developing yourself. Developing yourself. Wow. Well, that was Dani DiAmico, and she's really awesome at failing, guys. So we will be right back to dive into what's next for her.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
And we are back with Dani DiAmico. And Dani was just discussing her work and how that's evolved from what she studied to what she's doing. And where this has taken her, which will be Denver soon, to have a conversation about a project that she launched and failed, but took a lot of nuggets from it, and now is going to spread that information in Denver, which is remarkable. Honestly, when we have a opportunity to share what we've learned with anyone, I think that is just a chance to seize. Like just go for it. So we talked about work. Let's talk about family.
Okay.
And let's talk about how you are finding your work-home balance in particular. So was that ever a struggle for you?
I think I was terrified by the prospect of it when my daughter came along. I really never pictured myself being a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I really wanted to be a good mom. So how do you balance that work and home and doing both things well? And I came across something by Ruth Bader Ginsburg that I know, and it really helped. I'm not trying to sound fancy, but it really did help.
Can you tell us who Ruth is?
She is a former Supreme Court justice. And she talked about, and I don't remember if it was something she spoke about or if it was a writing of hers, but she talked about work-life balance. And when she was going to school, so she went to school, which was not common at the time, and they had a nanny. And she spoke about being rejuvenated by the sectioning off of her life between being a wife and a mother and being a student. And so she spoke so she would get up and she would go to the library and she would study. And that time was completely given to being a student. And then when she got home, she put on her mother's shoes, and it gave her space to be grateful for that time of being a mom and that time to study.
Okay.
And then after her kids were in bed, then she would go back and study again. And that segmenting of life is something that I really carry now. Even so, I ended up when they promoted me to this position, I ended up in grad school also. So I just finished my grad degree in December.
Well, congratulations for that.
Thanks. Whew, this summer's been awesome. It's so good. So many years of I did it slowly, one class at a time, so I could be a mom, right? And so work was work, and I love my work and I love our community, and it's most of the time so it's rejuvenating and empowering because I feel like I'm doing so much good and I'm doing the things I love, music and books. But then I get home and it's oh yeah, this is mom time. So I get to be a mom and a wife and just love this time with my family and revel in it. And I don't take it for granted because I don't get that 9 to 5 time with her, with him. And then when she was in bed, then it was school time. So it was okay, I'm going to accomplish this. She's in bed.
So you were balancing work, mom, wife, and student at one point.
Yeah. Yep. We did that. It was 4 years because I took one class at a time.
So what was the most challenging part of wearing all 4 of those hats?
Oh, really,
or what was a time where you had to rely on an outside source?
Oh, the husband. I just pictured the computers all crashed. The computers all crashed, and I'm sitting at a TV tray in the living room, looking at on our TV tray, TV, laptop, trying to do all of the things. It was a coding class, and and just it even before I applied for the position, I was worried about that balance. And both my husband and my mom were like, this is going to be the best choice for your family long term. I did the math, and the degree would pay for itself, which I think is important to do before you leap into it. And
it's a good point.
And so long term, it was just the best choice for all of us. And so it was a family decision for me to go to grad school because taking the finances at the time and taking the time away from my family, and so to have the hugest cheering section, everybody, I like to tell, I like to tell people that my husband got a grad degree de facto. He read every single one of my papers. Thankfully by making,
Honorary.
yeah, 100%,
It's honorary.
100%. But by making the choice to take one class at a time, I was able to. There were very few times when I had to this assignment isn't done. I have to work on a weekend when Moira was there to
So
be jealous.
Was there, yeah. So, I mean, like you said, to be jealous of your time, your daughter there was some weekends where you kind of had to step away and dad would step in. But was there anything that your daughter took from, hey, mom went to school as an adult? Was that something that ever settled in with her, or was she just like, oh, mom's reading again?
I'm gonna try not to cry. She came to my college graduation and she's like, I am gonna go to college just like you, mom.
Wow.
Right? Like,
That's so cool.
And my response was, you don't have to. If you want to open a business, that's fine, babe. But working hard is what it's all about, and finding what makes you happy. But just the fact that she thought it was
the coolest thing.
Yeah, right.
The
Like that she
coolest
wanted to
thing.
be like me and setting an example of being a leader.
That's a beautiful thing. It really is, being able to show your child in real time, because I'm sure there's, mothers, parents out there that they've already had the education and the children and not going back. So it's more of less, yes, mom went to college. It's this thing that happened that the child never sees. But in this instance, she did see it happen.
Yeah.
So obviously that was empowering to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully she know that she can accomplish everything. And I think another thing that really needs to be, I'd like to acknowledge, is that, my husband, my partner, so stepped up so many times. I think I didn't think of this right off the bat, but like she likes us to sing for her before she goes to bed. And oftentimes he steps in to do that kind of thing, and he picks her up after school and all of those important moments. But because I work later and because I would leave to do schoolwork, he was their parent, and those parents need to be celebrated by the parents who are not present. You know what I mean? She did tell me that daddy's boring at one point in time, and like legit, he takes her to the park like 4 days a week, and I'm just like, dude, we need to talk about how amazing your dad is, and like and the partnership there, because he's helping me accomplish all of these other things.
Yes,
but she just takes it for granted because
we're going to the park again. Darn it.
because I've got mom's complete attention. This is amazing. This is so cool because she's not distracted by school or the other things, so there's the novelty and celebration of those moments. So it's my job to lift up my partner and celebrate.
What's a piece? So we bounce from work-life balance to, balance with your partner. What's the work-life balance piece of advice that you would give?
I think really it's leave work at work, which is so hard.
Oh,
it's so hard. And there have been many jobs in my life where that was a lot less acceptable. Like the library very much supports work stays at work, but there are many other work environments and cultures that don't encourage employees to set that boundary. And I'm not saying my mind doesn't go there, like you're looking at Pinterest and like, oh, the kids love this, but and it is a job that is easier to leave at the door, but
leave work at work.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah,
I think,
but it's a hard one.
I think
I'm
a
not
lot
judgy.
of yes, a lot of people, they you know it, but until you practice it, that's when that relief comes, right?
I hope so. I hope you take relief instead of the anxiety of. I wish that for parents, that you can leave the anxiety and stress of work and what you do at work. But there's so many, like I said, I know that I have it so lucky with my job versus people who take on emergency situations.
So this dynamic with your husband, it sounds like a very healthy partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And what is a piece of advice that you would give to someone that's, has the partner that's at home putting the kids to bed, making the dinner while you're working, or vice versa? Maybe it's the drop off in the morning and packing the lunch.
Yeah.
What is a piece of advice to someone who can acknowledge that person?
I think, I've had to defend the fact that he already works 8 hours by the time I get home. And even though he's done with his shift by 1 or 2, and then he starts childcare after that, like acknowledging that, that as somebody once said, it was like, oh, it's so nice. He's home. He can make you dinner. I'm like, listen, he already worked 8 hours and then he provided childcare. When I get home, we are going to work together to clean the house, to do, once I'm there, I am a full-time partner, if not trying to carry the load more, I think really acknowledging what your partner does, and regardless of the work is. So if you're a full-time stay-at-home mom and the work that comes with that, or dad, stay-at-home dad, regardless of the work that your partner does, acknowledge it and celebrate it, even if it's not fancy.
Was there ever a point where you were a stay-at-home parent, or had a a family member who was a stay-at-home parent?
My mom was a stay-at-home parent when I was young, and my grandmother was, on my father's side. But my mom's mom ran a deli. She ran a deli in New Jersey for years and years. I found myself suddenly a stay-at-home parent during the pandemic. So everything shut down, and my husband still worked from home, and I wasn't working. And so all of a sudden I was a full-time mom. Not only that, I was stuck in the house. Like, we couldn't go anywhere. And never did I ever picture myself as a stay-at-home mom without working. I'm a recovering workaholic. And so, yeah, that was tough. But I realized that I wasn't filling my daughter's bucket the way she needed it to be filled.
What do you mean?
So I am a doer, right? Like, so if my way of expressing love for her was like, let me set up these activities for us to do, and we will do this, and we will do this, and we will have fun, and we will go here, and we will play this thing. And she is a person who just wants to be in your presence. And she wants to do imaginative play, and she wants to just be quiet, and she wants you to stay there and be in one spot, doing nothing.
And you're the doer.
I'm the doer.
So it's driving you a little crazy.
Oh my gosh, hands on a chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard. And yeah, but that's what her love language is, if you do that kind of thing. And
yes, I was just gonna mention that.
Yeah, I do put stock in that. And so, like, mine's of acts of service, so I'm gonna do something for you, and hers are gifts of time, which means just give me your time. And we came out of the pandemic so much stronger, she and I, our relationship, because I had learned that she just wants me to sit and be. And I learned to set a timer, because it is important to fill your kid's bucket, but entering your own bucket.
Tell me this timer process.
Yeah. So I, when I'm at home and there are a bazillion things to do, like, me sitting and giving her quality time just creates anxiety in me, like, because there is so much to do all of the time.
You have to vacuum, do the dishes, pick this up, pick that up,
garden, call my friends, like, do,
check in
all the things. There's just always, but I mean, we know that there's always going to be things. There's never not going to be things. And so prioritizing her as one of the things. And so giving her that time, like setting a timer and sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to sit with you for 45 minutes. This is your time, whatever you want to do, honey. And then, and giving myself permission to be in that space with her as one of the things I need to do. And then go on and do the other things that need to get done, and of course include her in them, but she never wants to do those things. She never
No,
wants to do
no child wants to put away laundry.
no,
No, it's not fun, Mom.
No. So
Rather go to the park with Dad.
yeah, even though he's boring. Right?
Even though he's boring. At least I'm not matching socks, Mom. So you're uplifting youth in the library. You're uplifting your husband through your partnership, and your daughter with quiet time, with just that quiet one-on-one, quality time. So is there a way that you uplift yourself?
I garden, and I love, not inside. I kill plants inside, but but making, like, I love weeding my flower beds. I love mowing the lawn. I love being out in nature, and also, exercising and making that a priority. So that's a quiet time that I give myself, doing yoga, going for walks, but also, like, people call it work, but I'm really lucky that it's not work, but making time with my partner. So he, like, I really love him. Like, we get along really well. And so, like, he fills my cup really well. So making sure that we have time to laugh and just be, and then I read. I really like to read books.
I wouldn't expect anything different from a librarian.
I didn't get to do much of that during grad school. And when there was a break, and so I would take one class a semester, all for 3 semesters, and August was the month off. And you should have seen my pile of books to be read just for me, and I just revel in it. So
these things that you do to empower yourself and uplift yourself, was there a time where you had to recognize, like, I need to do something for me? What did that look like for you?
My health, and it's, as a woman, our weight is always associated with that, and I have never kept weight off easily. It's always been a challenge, and and I can tell when I'm not really taking care of myself and I'm stressed out, and because I'm eating like crap, I'm not exercising.
Chips, Twizzlers, those are mine. What else? Dark chocolate. What are yours?
Cookies, like anything baked that I can, and peanut butter. Oh my gosh, peanut butter.
That's top notch right there.
So peanut butter. So good.
Peanut's the ultimate.
Yeah. It's healthy. It's good for you, but only in moderation. So yeah, when when you start getting sick all the time, and you feel bloated and you have no energy, and
crummy.
Wait, I haven't exercised in a month, or like, oh, I should really eat a vegetable, and taking that time to plan out my meals so that I don't feel like crap.
So it's intentional. So you're intentionally giving yourself space and time to uplift yourself so you can give better.
Yeah, that's a beautiful observation.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So what do you grow in your garden?
I have really been working on pollinator plants. So, and we just moved to a new house in February, and I, of course, had just finished that garden. I feel like that's the cycle of my life. Like, I finished the garden, I love it. Okay, go to a new house.
Now we're moving.
And this house, it's amazing because the flower beds, they weren't gardeners, but they had kept the beds beautiful. And our first 2 houses were foreclosures. And so the beds we're talking like ripping out bushes as high as the house. And so I just get to plant whatever I want. So I love to put in native pollinators that rotate throughout the summer. So we've got something blossoming at all times that'll feed the bees. And I do have a vegetable garden, but I don't worry about it. I plant it and
just water it and it'll grow.
Yeah, well, like,
I'm seeing this theme. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a theme. So in visual arts, and I can resonate with that. You're giving something that's virtual, right? You're gifting the world something. In your job right now, you're designing programs, you're giving back to children, you're giving back into your family, and you are literally growing pollinators. So I see this theme here. But when it comes to giving yourself something, and what does that look like when you see somebody who's not giving themselves something? Has there ever been a time where you're like, hey,
I
like
before we move, like, you talk about me giving so much, and all of those things that you mentioned that I'm giving, like, it all gives back to me. Like, yes, I'm creating plants for the pollinators, but I get to enjoy the beauty of my garden all year long. And we talk about my job where I give to the community, and I can't tell you how beautiful our community is and how grateful they are and how hardworking my coworkers and collaborators are. Like, everybody gives, around me. So what I'm giving is so fulfilling, because I am not taken for granted either. I'm not taken for granted by my partner for what I give. I'm not taken for granted by my employers for what I give, or the children, or our parents. In no way am I taken for granted. And that goes a long way for me wanting to give more. When my husband says, "Wow, this meal is amazing," it's like, "Oh, I want to cook for you again."
there you go.
Well,
that worked out well.
100%. So it's, and maybe that ties into it, is like, if you're giving and you're feeling like you're just pulling from an empty bucket, are you not being celebrated?
Being celebrated.
Are you not being celebrated for what you are giving?
So being celebrated is a correlation you're seeing that goes and ties right into being celebrated, ties into pushing out. So we had a guest, and she had said something along the lines of, when you're at peace and you have freedom within, then you can distribute peace and freedom without.
Oh yeah.
And I had never heard it in that way. So you setting yourself up, not necessarily intentionally, but situations where you're blessed to be celebrated. So how and what piece of advice can you give listeners to that point?
It's hard for me to give advice because I'm so darn lucky. I'm just so lucky that I have a partner who I communicate with naturally. I'm so lucky that I have a job that really gets excited that I play the ukulele.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm not sure, because it seems so empty to say, just keep looking for what you want, because I was so lucky to find it. And I know that in a world where we really have to work hard to make our bills happen, and all those kinds of things, that not everybody is as lucky as I am. But, I have been told that I find gratitude in everything.
So if in a nutshell, here we are, and giving a piece of advice would be find gratitude.
Find gratitude in the things. I think that's what I work towards, is be grateful for what I have. And then I can just celebrate everything. I'm not missing out on anything because I'm already grateful for what I have.
So show gratitude. And that's what she said with Dani DiAmico. Thank you, Dani.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. We went down some deep holes, man. But we knew that was going to happen, didn't we? So thank you so much for your time. It was such a joy to chat.
Appreciate you.